Hello, my name is Alan Foom, and today I'm going to talk about the energy woes in the United Kingdom in September 2022. Now, I did a video called The Woes of the Gas Market in September 2021, when the gas price was here. You can see things have got quite a bit harder since then. And this just came in on Twitter today by Javier Blas, an energy commentator, about interconnectors of electricity, where the French wish to import electricity from outside countries to cover shortfalls due to issues with the nuclear power plants, and the UK also wishes to import more electricity via the interconnectors from countries such as France. Obviously the two don't add up, so what's going on? Let's have a look at what's happening. And it's a hard situation. So, as I mentioned before, I did a video this time last year, and I thought, well, this is unpleasant, but it's got worse since then. Significant increases in energy prices, straining the economy, impacting living standards, heat or eat for poor people, and significant impacts for people who are middle income and even people who are relatively wealthy. And the global headwinds, Ukraine war, but not just the Ukraine war and its aftermath and its impact, but also other things. The domestic energy market in the UK is basically broken, and there have been various ways to try to reform it, various ideas, looking both electricity and gas. So we'll look a little bit about that, but probably Catherine Porter's Logic blog is the best place that I can recommend as a resource. And we've had a change of government, so Bojo's out, Liz Truss is in, and there's a big cry to do something because obviously the current situation is hurting a lot of people. So what's going on and where are we going? So prices for gas globally have skyrocketed. So this is a graph showing UK gas prices in red and US gas prices in light blue, both indexed to dollars per MMBTU. And you can see US gas price has gone up, but the UK gas price has skyrocketed. And this is a picture that Greg Molnar posted on LinkedIn looking at the different gas markets and different hubs around the world. Now Henry Hub, which is the main US gas hub, has doubled. Okay. It's doubled from a relatively low base. But if you look at Europe, TFF, this is the main European hub, $68 per MMBTU. And let's sink in a bit. That's approaching $360 per barrel in terms of oil indexation. But it's not just Europe. JKM, Japanese Korea market for liquefied natural gas, $52. IGX, India, again, $31. And that's basically because there's a shortage of LNG. If you're going to take one of its main suppliers, Russia, out the market, you've got a problem. And people will keep bidding to the highest bidder, and people who have less money get crowded out. People who have more money still pay what they can. So that's a situation in terms of the global gas market. You can see very challenging. But it's not just gas. Coal prices have increased, oil prices have increased, prices of all energy have increased. Gas is peculiar because of the influence of Russia, but even then everything else is there. So how important is gas? Well, in case of UK, very important. Just a little brief history of the UK gas situation since 1970 when North Sea gas first started appearing. So you had an increase in gas, and up until the mid-1990s, gas in the UK was mainly used for industrial purposes and heating, very little power generation, electricity generation from gas. And UK was effectively a gas island. So there was a bit of import of LNG from places like Algeria, but most of it was North Sea gas. There were a few pipelines. I think there was an interconnector in Norway that came in the 1980s. But what's happened subsequently was in the 1990s, deregulation of the market. You had one monopoly, effectively domestic supply in the UK, British Gas. Now you had loads of different, which later became Centrica. Now you have loads of different suppliers. Gas-fired power generation displacing coal for environmental reasons and also to some extent political reasons. And the golden gas decade, 1990 to about 2000. Since 2000, fall in domestic gas production, which is now leveled off through quite a lot of investment. But whereas Britain used to actually be a net exporter in the 1990s, now we import about 60% of our gas. It varies obviously with times and circumstances, weather dependency, but we now have changed. But we have built all this infrastructure that's gas related during this time, and we're locked into it. until you change the infrastructure. This is quite a nice diagram from Catherine Porter's blog, again, What Logic, please check it out. And looking at the situation here, again, UK self-sufficient until 2004. Now domestic production meets roughly half demand on a good day, 40% on a bad day, but that sort of situation. So imports from LNG and imports from pipeline, mainly from Norway, some from the Netherlands, some via Belgium, but that's effectively Dutch gas or gas from the main European system, some of which may be Russian. Whereas LNG, mostly from Qatar, some from the USA, some from Russia, from the Trinidad and Tobago, basically the Atlantic Basin LNG. So what happens here is most of this is relatively short-term contracts. This is mostly long-term contracts. Spot prices go up, you've got a problem. That's basically what's happened. Another issue that Catherine highlighted in What Logic is that there's relatively limited gas storage capacity in the UK. Now, we've got about 10 to 14 days of demand. Generally because we've always had our own domestic gas, that's never really been an issue. So the key here was if there's a problem in one of the gas import terminals, and there were about 5 at the height of the boom, you had a situation where that was basically either peak shaving or emergency response. There's also some capacity in LNG terminals and some capacity within salt caverns. And we had this thing here called the Rough Storage Facility, located just here off the coast of Yorkshire. Now, that was decommissioned for storage in 2017, and Centrica, who were the owners of it, had effectively been producing cushion gas, so effectively running it down, and then they were going to decommission it completely. You remove all the facilities, plug the wells. Now, what they're thinking about is restarting storage operations there, which could make a difference. They've been talking about a new depleted field storage facility, a lot of talk, but not much on the action front. So what do we use gas for in Great Britain? So mainly residential, so that's heating, roughly a third. 30% of gas use is electric, and some industrial use, 20%. Commercial, that's basically offices, hospitals, schools, etc., and then others. So gas plays quite a big part, and 40% of electricity generation in the UK, so that's the amount of gas used for electricity, that's the amount of electricity made from gas. Around 40% of electricity is made from gas. Also, gas is vital for heating. This chart from the Financial Times posted on Twitter, and UK, roughly 70% of heating is via gas. 84% of British homes have got gas heating. Some also have electrical, some also have wood-burning stoves. But if you don't have gas, you don't have heat. You have hypothermia, you have all sorts of nasties. So that's important. And if you look at major European countries, so this is how much gas plays a role in the overall energy system, again statistics with the BP Statistical Review of World Energy. And you can see UK here, just under 40% of UK primary energy comes from gas. So that's both for electricity generation, domestic heating, industrial heat, etc. So gas is important, particularly when you look at it relative to other European countries such as Germany, such as France, such as Poland, etc. Only Italy has such a high number. You can see Ukraine here declining significantly with their economic situation. So, aren't the USA going to come to the rescue with the freedom molecules? So this is a graph posted from the Energy Information Administration, the main UK US information source, looking at all of these gas terminals. You can see 2016 didn't have an industry at all, and you had all of these new terminals coming in, and you're coming up to about 14 BCF a day, and then you're going to come up to about 20 BCF a day by 26. Well, you're here. So they're producing as much as they need to. And even then, if you look at freedom molecules, so these are Russian gas exports to Europe. This is USA exports everywhere, so that includes Asia and Latin America, who are big customers for US LNG as well, mainly Asia. So this is, okay, nothing happened until 2015, rapid rise, carries on rising, flattens off. So this is, if you come back to here, this is this bit, when you're waiting for these 3 new projects to come on. And then rise. And then what happens then? So 3 scenarios produced by the EIA, low case, mid case, high case. So if you're looking at the mid case, it doesn't get anywhere near close to replacing gas exports to Europe. That's exports from the USA via LNG. And much of that's going to Asia. So no cavalry rising to the rescue, right here, right now. Things might change, but this is the EIA's projections. Okay, so we'll look at the price energy gap. So this is again from Catherine Porter's What Logic blog. You can see the bulk of the costs are wholesale gas costs. And these are the other bits. So that's the operating costs, network costs, policy costs, adjustments allowance, etc. So you can see as wholesale costs go up, the price that consumers in the UK have to pay go up. Now, what the UK government has announced is the guaranteed energy price. So I've taken this graph, I rejigged it a wee bit. So the light green bit is now the wholesale costs. So effectively, this much is the UK government support. Now, Javier Blas said that it's effectively a massive short position, a bet on natural gas and energy prices. And trying to buck the market, not a good idea. Remember, back in 1992, you had Black Wednesday, some people call it White Wednesday, where you had the ERM, exchange rate mechanism situation, where the UK government bet against the markets and lost horrifically. Warning, perhaps. And this is the level of support. Again, this is from the Institute of Fiscal Studies, IFS, and this is a graph of how much support is going to be given by household income decile. So you can see it's actually fairly even, but it's looking at about 7% of the average British household budget. Over 100 billion in a year alone. Put that into context, that's more than a COVID furlough scheme. Even then, you still have double prices relative to last winter, which is tough for people at this end of the demographic scale. You know, these are the people who have to heat or eat. These are the people that have to heat or go to the cinema. And it's also tough winter for electricity. There are a lot of problems in the European electricity market. French nuclear maintenance. You know, France has been Europe's great big battery, and they've been exporting electricity to all their neighbours via interconnectors. Well, that's come to be a problem. Now, I showed you the tweet of Javier Blas earlier. And you got shut down for nuclear plants in Germany as well. Great. It's been low rainfall in Norway. Yes, I know it happens. Yes, it's a miracle. Anyone who's ever been to Norway, rains a lot there. And Norway's rainfall has led to them being the hydro kings of Europe. And they export a lot of hydroelectricity. But they hardly don't have enough because the reservoirs aren't as full as they need to be. So the two European electricity backstops, France and Norway, are not going to be able to backstop anymore. Threat of low wind. You know, if you have anticyclones, wind doesn't work. Wind turbines only work 40% of the time. And solar's not particularly great in winter. Now, it's not too bad in summer at all. Very useful in summer when you have a nice sunny day. But not so much in winter. So renewables are weather dependent. We've got a problem. Now, coal might come to the rescue, but again, coal environmentally is very unpopular for pretty good reasons, actually. Not only CO2, but also the other pollutants and nasties that it does. But if you have an emergency, what do you do? And then there's the bear in the room, rather than the elephant, the gas bear. So this is Russia's exports to Europe. Again, shout out for all the different pipelines. So this is Nord Stream. Then you've got Turk Stream flowing to the EU, Ukraine Transit, and then Yamal Europe. So Yamal Europe goes through Belarus and Poland. Stopped. UK Transit was actually continuing through large chunks of the war, but now pretty much stopped. Turk Stream, that's still going. That effectively keeps Hungary and Serbia going. And Nord Stream shut down. Initially through turbine problems, which was a bit of a saga, now an oil leak. Yeah, right. Turbine problem was actually a real problem. The oil leak is a real problem, but problems can be solved, and they haven't been. And there's a reason for that. So to sum up, we got a nice little message from our chums in the East. Zima приближается. Game of Thrones. So, difficult times ahead, So please, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.